Welcome back to What If Deku Meets His Queen Part 2. Dive into the thrilling continuation where Deku and his queen face new challenges and strengthen their bond. Will they conquer the obstacles ahead? Stay tuned, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to join us on this epic journey. Let's jump right in. We see Izuku, Rimuru, and the others leaving the forest while they looked into the distance at a kind of line to enter the city. Rimuru, we arrived, he said happily. Kopta said the goblins would take several days to arrive, but, thanks to the wolves, we were able to arrive earlier. Izuku, sighs now, you guys, he said, pointing to the wolves and goblins. You stay here. Rimuru, Kopta, and I will go to the city, got it? Ranga, but, Izuku-sama. Izuku, don't worry, I'll try to come back quickly, he said, while stroking him. Ranga, okay. Rimuru, it's okay for us, but are you sure? Izuku, of course, don't worry. Rimuru, Izuku's right, don't worry, we'll try to come back quickly. They nodded, and Izuku, Rimuru, and Kopta started to leave. Ranga and the others, take care. A few minutes later, we see Izuku and the others arriving at the line. Rimuru, the line is quite long, they must be strict, she said as she reached the line. Kopta, patience, when we get in, we can go wherever we want. Izuku, where we want? He thought, blushing slightly. Rimuru, pervert, she said, slightly annoyed as she climbed onto Izuku. Izuku, never. Rimuru, then what were you thinking about? Elves? Izuku, maybe yes, maybe no. Rimuru, sighs pervert. Izuku, I said never, he said with a mischievous face. Rimuru, whatever you say. Then they hear a voice. Bandits, you. Izuku and the others looked at who was calling them. Izuku, us? Bandit 2, yes, you, give us everything you have. Izuku, for what or why? Are you vagrants who need money? Bandit, stop joking and give us all your money. Izuku, I have nothing to give you, sorry, so it'll have to be next time. One of them pulled out a sort of sword. Rimuru and Izuku, seriously? Kopta, this can't be. Rimuru, what's wrong, Kopta? Kopta, it's them, they hit me last time I came here, the weak like us have the fate of being beaten. Izuku, fate? He thought, bored, and addressed the bandits. Leave. Bandit 2, what are you doing? Stay away or we'll kill you. Izuku ignored them and kept walking towards them while they were backing away. Bandit, you asked for it, he said and tried to attack him, but when he went to stab him, Izuku put his hand out and went through it. Bandit, why you're crazy? He said, scared by what the green-haired did, and he didn't show any sign of pain. Rimuru, Izuku, she said, a bit worried. Izuku, I'll repeat it one more time, he said with a cold voice while his face showed no emotions, which sent shivers down the bandits' spines. Leave. The bandits were very scared. Bandit, and no, who do you think you are? We only thought of robbing you, but now we're going to kill you. Izuku, how stupid. Then some more bandits appeared, as they prepared to launch a joint attack. When they did, Izuku just made a gust of wind that made the attack deflect. Bandit 4, impossible. Bandit 3, he did it with just his fingers? Izuku, I already said it and I won't say it again, so, he said, preparing another attack, but this time increasing Ofa a little more, and green rays started coming out. Take care, he said, and launched another gust of wind, but this time, sending them flying quite far from here. Those in line and Izuku's friends were surprised by the attack, and because it had green rays, but suddenly the rays stopped, but almost everyone thought it was lightning magic. Izuku, it's been a while since I used that, he said as his wound healed. I'm not tired, calculating, I can last several days with this body. Rimuru, that was amazing. Izuku. Izuku, it's not a big deal. Kopta, Izuku-sama, I confirmed that you were amazing. Then some dwarves arrive. Dwarf, you, troublemaker, he said, but when he saw, well, a slime. And a human? Izuku and Rimuru, A few minutes later, we see Izuku, Rimuru, and Kopta in a cell for causing trouble, but Rimuru is inside a barrel. Izuku, I didn't expect this. Rimuru, me neither, she said from inside the barrel. Kopta, Rimuru, Kopta, is sleeping? Izuku, yes, he sleeps heavily, he said comically. Then a dwarf arrives. Izuku, sorry for what I did. Dwarf, don't worry, some said it was self-defense. Izuku, oh, then are you going to set us free? Dwarf, not yet, we have to. He was interrupted by another dwarf who came in a hurry. What's happening? Izuku listened to this like Rimuru did. The dwarf said they're being attacked and the other dwarf said they're waiting? Looking for remaining healing potions and weapons, but then Rimuru got out of the barrel and out of the cell. Izuku, what is she going to do? Rimuru, sorry. Dwarf, what? Why did you come out of the cell? Rimuru, that doesn't matter, I heard you need healing potions, and well, that barrel is full. He said while looking at the barrel, full of healing potions. And of the best quality. The dwarf hesitated but had no other choice, so he opened the cell, covered the barrel, and started to carry it. The other dwarf said he's trusting a slime, but this one said there was nothing else to do. Dwarf, back to the cell, we'll return later. Rimuru nodded as he watched them go, so Rimuru returned to his cell. Izuku, it was kind of you. Rimuru, what can I say, I like to help. Hours passed, and it was already night. Kopta continued sleeping while Izuku watched Rimuru play with some threads, making figures. Rimuru, a cradle. He said while making a figure. Izuku, impressive. Rimuru, a diamond. Izuku, a diamond? But it doesn't look like one. Rimuru, a drum. Izuku, that one looks a bit more like it. Rimuru, a boat. Izuku, interesting. Rimuru, now. Tokyo Tower. Then he heard applause. Rimuru saw it was Izuku applauding. Izuku, you're good at these things, it turned out well. He said while applauding, though he had the same face. Rimuru, he, it's not that big of a deal. She said proudly. Izuku, come on, Kopta, doesn't seem to be waking up anytime soon. Rimuru, Kopta has the heaviest sleep I've ever seen. She said while tying him up, hanging him upside down, and covering his mouth. This way, he won't snore anymore. Izuku, true. Then the dwarf arrives with some others. Kaido, I came to thank you for the healing potion. Dwarf 2, yes, that's right, they told me it was you, thank you very much. Dwarf 3, indeed, if it weren't for that, I would have lost a hand. Dwarf 4, he didn't say anything, but he seemed grateful. Rimuru, he, it wasn't that big of a deal, I'd just like to help. Then the guard dwarf opened the cell. Rimuru, are we free? Kaido, of course, what you did is more than enough. Rimuru, thank you, let's go, Izuku. She said as she exited the cell. Izuku, sure. He said, leaving the cell. But Kopta? Nah, he'll be fine. Minutes later. We see Izuku eating while Rimuru and the dwarf watch. Izuku, this is delicious. Rimuru, he. Kaido, he sure is hungry. He said while watching Izuku. A few minutes later, we see the empty table, and now we see them talking. Kaido, so, why did you come to this city of dwarves? Rimuru, why did I come? Honestly, I came because I wanted to see the dwarves, I wanted to see those weapons even though thinking about it, we need armor, weapons, and clothes for the goblin village. Izuku, well, we came to see the weapons but also clothes, armor, and more materials for our village. He said while imagining a goblin wearing somewhat revealing clothes, which made him blush a little. But mostly clothes. Kaido, I see, well, I have a brother who makes weapons and armor. Rimuru, really? Izuku, can you take us to him? Kaido, of course, that was the plan anyway. A few minutes later. We see Izuku and Rimuru following the dwarf. Izuku, it's clear we're in a country of dwarves, they seem much more civilized than the goblin village. He said as he looked around like Rimuru. Kaido, this way, walk, don't lag behind. Izuku and Rimuru, yes. They said and followed their path. Now we see Izuku and Rimuru looking at armor, weapons, and more things. Rimuru, incredible, this work has so many details and... What's with that sword? Why is it shining so much? Could it be because of magic? She said excitedly. Izuku, this will be useful for the village. Kaido, that's right, it's made of magic, and that one on the right, was made by him, the blacksmith we're going to see. Izuku and Rimuru, great. A few minutes later, we see Izuku and the others arriving at their destination. Kaido, we've arrived, I promise this is the best. Hey brother, are you there? he said as he entered, followed by Izuku and Rimuru. We see a dwarf forging a sword. Dwarf, wait Kaido, wait. He said to his younger brother. Kaido, sure. Then Izuku and Rimuru come out. Izuku and Rimuru, hello, good evening. Kaido, this is my brother, the blacksmith, Kaijin. Kaijin, ah, you're the slime that helped with the potions? Rimuru, yes, that's me. Kaijin, thanks for that, and who are you? Izuku, I'm his companion, you could say. Then 3 more dwarves arrive. Rimuru, it's you guys. The 3, ah, glad to see you here. They said, well, only one didn't say anything. Izuku, what kind of sword are you making? Kaijin, ah, I was ordered to make a high-quality sword. I have to make about 20 and let's say they gave me little time, just a week, but I don't have enough materials to make them all high quality. I can make one that I'm working on, but the other 19, I'm not sure if I'll be able to. Rimuru, can you tell us who ordered such weapons? Kaijin, the minister. Izuku and Rimuru, minister? Izuku, let me see. He said and approached the sword that Kaijin was making. Kaijin, what are you going to do? He said and watched as the others did. Izuku grabbed the sword he was forging. Wait, it's very hot. Izuku, huh? He said as he looked at the sword, then the sword began to glow. Everyone had to cover their eyes, except Izuku and Rimuru. When it stopped glowing, a sword that seemed to be of high quality could be seen. I hope this helps you. Kaijin, what? Izuku, I can do that, but I need to have a mold and knowledge of what object I want to come out. He said calmly. I've seen many types of swords in my old world, both in pictures and videos. Kaijin, then, can you help me make the remaining 19? Izuku, sure, but one condition. Kaijin, of course, anything, I'll pay whatever you ask. Izuku, Rimuru, tell him. Rimuru, yes. She said and looked at him. We want you to find some artisans to come to our village and teach all their crafts to the population. Kaijin blinked several times. Kaijin, is that all you need from me? Rimuru, of course, our priority is shelter and refuge, but also food, roof, and clothing. We'd like to have clothes, weapons, and some armor. Kaijin. Ha, that's the simplest thing. Dord, but brother, we won't finish like this. Garm, yes, it'll take longer to make the swords. Izuku, why? We won't take that long, will we? Rimuru, I got it. Everyone looked at Rimuru. She went to Izuku who had the sword. Rimuru, can you give them to me for a moment? Izuku, sure. Izuku gave it to her, and in no time, Rimuru ate it. Rimuru, great wise analysis. Analysis started, analysis completed. Rimuru, there. She said and the sword came out of her body, but then swords of the same quality came out, they came out in all the 19 that were missing. There you go, 20 swords ready for the minister. Izuku, you're amazing too, Rimuru. Rimuru, me? He, it's not that big of a deal. Kaijin and the other dwarves looked at them surprised. Kaijin, yes. Thank you very much, now that minister will see who's who. Rimuru, he. Izuku, so, will you come to our village? Kaijin, of course, I'm completely grateful to you both. Izuku, thank you. Rimuru, yes, thank you. Garm, now let's celebrate. Dord, yes, Izuku, let's go to the elves, do you want to come? Izuku, wouldn't be bad, but I'm not sure. Garm, come on, cheer up a bit. Izuku, alright. Rimuru, no. She said, getting on top of him. You're not going. Izuku, what? Why? You're not my mom. Rimuru, so what? You're not going, we already had plans. Garm, come on, don't be like that, aren't you a man? Rimuru, no, I'm a woman, I know slimes don't have a gender, but I have a woman's mindset, so, I'm a woman. Izuku, I figured as much. He thought comically. Dord, but they'll have everyone from the youngest to the oldest. I don't know, but this part literally came out in the anime, so don't call me a pervert, VXD. Rimuru, I would feel uncomfortable. Izuku, I don't mind. Rimuru, so if you don't mind, then you're not going, because you wouldn't care whether to go or not. Izuku. Rimuru, hee hee hee. Izuku, alright, I won't go. He said and left. Rimuru, where are you going? Izuku, somewhere, I'll explore this city. Rimuru, wait for me. I also want to see the city. She said and also left the place. The dwarves watched with a smile. Kaijin, hee hee hee, this won't be boring at all having them around. We see Izuku with Rimuru. Rimuru, where are we going? Izuku, I don't know. He said, sweating a bit, I just wanted to see this city. He said while looking around. Rimuru, me too. Izuku and Rimuru continued walking, seeing small shops selling interesting objects and more things. Now we see the two walking calmly. Izuku, it's so peaceful. Rimuru, tell me about it. Izuku, I wonder how Ranga and the others are doing. Rimuru, I was wondering that too, but they must be fine. Izuku, yeah, that's true. Rimuru, and I'm glad we achieved our goal. Now the village will receive help. Izuku, I'm also glad about that. He said with a neutral expression. Rimuru, even though you don't seem like it. Izuku, not showing my expressions doesn't mean I'm not. He said calmly, little by little I'm getting used to it, though it's difficult, but I feel a little happy, no rush, slowly. Izuku and Rimuru were walking but then they heard a noise, something like a thud. Izuku, huh? Rimuru, what was that? The two looked where the noise came from and noticed it was inside a residence. They were about to continue their way because it's not their problem, but then they heard Kaijin's voice. Rimuru, is that Kaijin? Izuku, let's go see. Rimuru, okay. The two entered and saw something that comically surprised them. Kaijin was there, and on the floor was a man like any other man, but in the background, there were other dwarves and also elves? Izuku, what's going on here? Everyone looked at Izuku while he had Rimuru on top. Rimuru, did we miss something? Izuku, elves. Rimuru, pervert. Izuku, I'm a guy, that's normal. Rimuru, so you admit you're a pervert then? Izuku, I never said that, but whatever. He said, then looked at the others, I'll repeat once more, what's going on here? Kaijin, slime, Izuku. Sorry. Izuku and Rimuru, huh? Wait, what? They said comically while looking back at the guy on the floor. Izuku, I don't know, but I feel like he deserves it somehow. Rimuru, why did you hit him? Kaijin, he came to bother, asking about the swords. I told him they were ready, he was surprised and remembered that two people had arrived, you guys. Then he started insulting for no reason, I couldn't stand listening to such nonsense. He said, and Rimuru jumped and landed beside him. Rimuru, don't worry, even though he was one of the ministers, there will surely be problems. She said somewhat seriously, what do you think, Izuku? She asked but received no response. Izuku? She said, looking at him, noticing he was being hugged by the elves. Elves, you're so cute and adorable. They said while hugging him, that red eye and those red tips make you look cuter and very sweet. They said while putting our green-haired friend on their chests. Izuku, one at a time, please. He said calmly. Rimuru looked at that with annoyance. Rimuru, Izuku. She said, trying to get his attention, did you at least listen? Izuku, of course, honestly, there will be problems. Kaijin, Rimuru, Izuku. You're looking for better craftsmen, right? Rimuru, yes. Izuku, yeah. Kaijin, so, would you settle just for me? Rimuru, huh? Really? Izuku, and we wouldn't just settle for you, it would please us if it were you, Kaijin. He said, and Kaijin smiled, but then someone knocked on the door. Maybe it's the problems. Izuku and Rimuru sighed. Izuku's POV. After that, some guards entered, one of them was Kaijin's brother. He said he was sorry but had to do his duty. We told him not to worry and that he'd better apologize to us. Now we are in the same cell as before with Rimuru and Kopta. Speaking of Kopta, he was still asleep. Something interesting was that this minister, Kaijin, said that he used to serve the incredible king of this country. That's how he met the guy he hit. They always fought and argued until one day he did some kind of project, let's say it failed and exploded. After that, that guy started blaming Kaijin, although he said he deserved it somehow. Now I dislike that guy, even if he says he's not a bad guy, I doubt that very much, it's clear he has bad intentions. We fear. Well, they fear that we will go to trial, I doubt they'll execute us for that, maybe a warning or something. By the way, now Kaijin has sworn loyalty to Rimuru and me, like the other dwarves, that surprised me. Right now, we're in court, Rimuru is beside me while the dwarves are beside Rimuru. End of Izuku's POV. We see everyone, then the hero king, Gazelle Dwargo, arrives. Everyone kneels, Rimuru also did, but Izuku didn't care. Knight, insolent, green-haired. Kneel. He said while pointing his weapon at him. The other knights did the same action. Izuku wasn't scared or anything, just looked bored, which caught the king's attention. Rimuru, kneel, Izuku. We don't want more trouble. Gazelle, he didn't say anything, just made a gesture, indicating to lower the weapons. Rimuru, sighs. A gentleman, attention, the trial is about to begin, everyone stand up. He said, and everyone did as requested. Rimuru, we stood up. In the armed nation of Dworgen, nobody can speak during their trial without the king's permission, of course, that's why a representative speaks for the defense. But, shouldn't he be defending us? She thought comically. Representative, as we see, Minister Vesta was enjoying a drink from that place when Kaijin and his henchmen took the place by surprise, attacking the poor defenseless man. This behavior is not acceptable and tolerated in this country. Kaijin, why do I feel like a lie? He muttered. Rimuru, but what's he doing? Isn't he supposed to be defending us? She thought a bit seriously but confused. Besides, looking closely, he seems more injured, exaggerated, he didn't look so injured for those wounds. The gentleman, is what has been clarified here true? Representative, yes, there is no doubt. Vesta, Majesty, you have heard what these guys did, please, give them a strict and exemplary punishment. Rimuru watched that with concern about what would happen to us. She looked at Izuku, but he was just staring at the king, and the king was staring back at him. Rimuru, please, no more problems. Izuku, why is he staring at me so much? Do I have something on my face? He thought and started to wipe his face. Then he heard what the minister said. He sounds like a little kid throwing a tantrum to his dad. Gazelle, this boy, like the slime, is very valuable. Especially this boy, he has a chilling aura and gaze. Rimuru, Kaijin said that Vesta was a guy who doesn't have bad actions, but he's wrong, he does. Vesta, Majesty? Gentlemen, attention, I will now deliver the verdict. Rimuru, I think it won't be in our favor. I have a bad feeling. Gentlemen, the aggressor, Kaijin, will be forced to work in the mines for 20 years, while his accomplices will work in the same mines, forced, for 10 years. This case is closed, the session is adjourned. He said, and when Rimuru was about to say something, she was interrupted by the king. Gazelle, wait a moment. He said, and everyone looked at the king. Long time, Kaijin. Kaijin kneeled. Gentlemen, Kaijin, answer the question. Kaijin, yes, Majesty, I'm glad to see you in such good health. Gazelle, very well, Kaijin, tell me, would you be interested in rejoining my troops? Kaijin, I beg your pardon, Majesty, but my loyalty already belongs to another master. My oath of allegiance is the greatest of my treasures, and I would never abandon that treasure even if you ordered me explicitly. The knights, insolent. They said, pointing their weapons, alarming Rimuru and a little Izuku. Gazelle, I understand you very well. He said, and signaled again, making the knights lower their weapons, relieving Rimuru. This is my verdict, Kaijin and his companions shall be exiled from my lands, that is all, disappear from my sight immediately. Rimuru, we've been saved with exile. She thought as she looked at Izuku, relaxed, seeming like he was about to sleep. Why isn't he upset? He even seems relaxed and doesn't care about what happened? Izuku, I'm glad everything is okay, I was going to interrupt, but from what I see, it wasn't necessary. He thought calmly. Rimuru and Izuku looked at the king. Izuku and Rimuru, the king looks quite sad. They thought and looked at Kaijin, who was silently crying. Izuku, I'll do something for him when we get to the village, as a thank you gift for everything he's doing. Gentlemen, this session has ended. Everyone started leaving. Now we see the king and Vesta with the gentleman. Gazelle, do you want to say something in this court? He said seriously. Vesta, Majesty. This. No, nothing. Gazelle, what a shame. I'm afraid I've lost a loyal subject and one of the dearest. Vesta, Majesty, what are you saying? I can't believe it, that guy Kaijin never swore such valuable loyalty as mine. Besides, he decided to stay with a slime and an ordinary human. Gazelle, little Vesta, your words are very mistaken. Vesta, huh? Gazelle, the loyal subject I lost today is called. What you already know, V, for those who don't know greater than V, yep, I'll leave that little suspense. Vesta opened his eyes wide. Gazelle, I expected much more from you, Vesta. I waited for years, even after the Fort Ajiko failure, just for you to tell me the truth. I don't know, but I imagine my dad saying this to me when I make a mistake or a simple detail. V. Vesta, Majesty, please listen to me. Gazelle, and now this. Look to your left. He said, and Vesta did, seeing the gentleman holding a bottle with healing potion. You know what this is? It's a potion made with herbs and potions. It achieves total recovery. Vesta, how is this possible? Even the advancements of the dwarves achieve a 98% recovery. How? How is this possible? Gazelle, it was that slime that gave it to us. And that boy. He said, and then the gentleman pulled out a sword, which surprised Vesta greatly. He made that sword with a difficult to obtain material. I dare say that mineral wasn't found until now. That sword is very powerful. And that boy gave it to us as if it were nothing. Your selfish actions, he said as he stood up from his throne, have severed all ties with those two. Now, do you have anything to say, Vesta? Vesta, I have nothing to say, Majesty. He said, tears streaming down his face as he fell to his knees. I just wanted to be very useful. When I first saw you when I was little, I wanted to be like you. That's what I longed for the most. Maybe I chose the wrong path. To envy Kaijin so much, I apologize. For letting you down, please forgive me. Gazelle, Vesta, never appear before me again, and before you go, there's something else, so pay close attention. Thank you for your service. He said and began to leave, leaving Vesta crying and regretful. With Izuku. We see Izuku and the others outside the city. Kaido, it's a shame to see you go, brother, but it's an order, I can't refuse. Kaijin, don't worry, I understand perfectly. Kaido, Rimuru, Izuku. He said, getting their attention. Take good care of my brother, please. Rimuru, of course. Izuku, yes, okay, and it would be better to leave now, the others are waiting in the forest. Rimuru, you're right. Kaijin, okay, and sorry for the trouble, take care. Kaido, don't worry, and take care too. Sighs Kaijin and the others are exiled, leave immediately. He said, sounding sad as he started to close the door. Izuku, should we go now? The others smiled. Kaijin, yes. So they all started to leave. With the king. We see him looking at the sky, but then someone appears behind him. Gazelle, did you close the presentation, right? Punish him severely? Yes. Gazelle, and keep an eye on the movements of that slime and that boy. It's unbelievable that those two are free just like that. That human doesn't feel right, if he were something more like that simple slime. They're monsters. And also avoid being discovered, no matter what happens? Yes. He said, and leaving the king alone. Gazelle, that slime is like the storm dragon, Veludora, and that boy. He scares me. He said seriously and began to leave. We see Izuku on a mountain enjoying the scenery, it's really beautiful. Izuku's point of view. It's been 2 weeks since we came back, but the weirdest thing when we arrived was. Now we have more people. There are about 500 goblins from nearby villages who wanted Rimuru's and my protection. I accepted, but Rimuru hesitated a bit before accepting. Now we have to take care of them more and give names to all those goblins. Rimuru slept for almost 3 days, but me. Nearly 6 days. Rimuru has more magical power than me. Currently, Rimuru is at the lake with Ranga, he must be teaching him the new skill he learned, Black Lightning. It's powerful and destructive. The village has changed, now everyone has good quality clothes thanks to Garm, he's amazing. Dord is handling craftsmanship as the second brother, he's great with those things. He knows what he's doing. And the younger brother Murd, he's doing architecture. He knows what he's doing, and I trust him even though he doesn't talk. Thanks to their help, guidance, and wisdom, we're on our way to building a completely new village. End of Izuku's point of view. Izuku, what a beautiful view. He said while enjoying the scenery. Jarvis, Master. Izuku, oh, Jarvis, what's up? Jarvis, Master, I sense an energy. A person. Izuku, a person? Jarvis, yes, master, but I also sense several weaker energies accompanying them. Izuku, and where are they? Jarvis, in the forest. Izuku, I see. Well, I'll head there to see who they are. Jarvis, very well, master. Izuku's thoughts. If they're in the forest, they must be near the new village we're building. This new ability to see energies or magic around me will be very useful. I got it when I had enough mana. He thought and continued on his way. He wasn't in a hurry, so he walked towards the village, taking several minutes until he arrived. Izuku, yup, a big change, he said as he looked around. As he continued his walk peacefully, he heard someone. Rimuru, hey Izuku, he said, riding on Ranga. Izuku, oh, hi Rimuru, he said calmly, and hello, Ranga. Ranga, hello, Izuku-sama. How have you been? Izuku, fine, thanks for asking, he said while petting Ranga. Then they heard a voice and saw it was Kopta, teaching the other goblins how to summon a wolf, surprising them and slightly surprising Rimuru. Rimuru, wow, he managed to summon one. Izuku, I forgot he could do that. Since we left him in that cell, he managed to summon one, escaping and reuniting with us, he thought with a poker face. But the goblins didn't understand, and Kopta explained again. Izuku and Rimuru, but he can't explain, they said comically. But then they heard someone calling him. Ruber, Izuku-sama, Rimuru-sama. Rimuru, Ruber has changed too. He went from being the Goblin Lord to being the Goblin King, and that made him evolve even further as a king. He's now the leader of the elders from the other villages. Izuku, is there a problem? Ruber, yes, Izuku-sama, we received a message from Ruber and his surveillance team. They say they discovered something very suspicious in the forest. Rimuru, monsters? Izuku's thoughts. Forest? Don't tell me. He thought but was interrupted in his thoughts by Ruber. Ruber, no, Rimuru-sama, it seems they're humans. Rimuru, humans? Ruber, yes, it seems they're explorers sent by other nations to expand their territories. Izuku's thoughts. Humans. Maybe they're the ones Jarvis told me about. In the forest. We see 4 people running away from giant ants. Guido, we're in this mess because of you, Kaval. You had to disturb a nest of giant ants with your sword, didn't you? He said as he ran. Kaval, shut up and don't complain about your leader, he said while running. Aaron, you had to be so careless, didn't you? The girl said as she ran, if I die, I swear I'll come back as a ghost just to haunt you. Kaval, ha ha ha, that's impossible because if you die, it means we'll be dead too. Then a girl with a mask suddenly stopped and looked at the giant ants coming towards them. Aaron, Shizu? Kaval, what are you doing? Then Shizu drew her sword, and immediately it lit up in flames, surprising them. Shizu waited for the ants to come close enough to attack, she prepared herself and when one of them lunged at her, Shizu used a blaze with her sword, burning it and causing it to explode, killing 3 in the process. Then another one lunged at her, but she also lunged with her sword raised, dodging its attack and giving it a cut on its back, making it explode, doing the same with the others, easily dodging their attacks and making fatal cuts that made them explode in flames, leaving none. The others were very surprised by what they had just seen, but then Aaron noticed that one of them moved its antenna slightly. Aaron, Shizu, be careful. Shizu looked at the ant that got up and was preparing to attack her, but when she was about to counterattack, she kneeled down and put her hand on her chest. The ant was about to attack her. Aaron, no. She shouted, worried for her. But then, a black lightning struck the ant, instantly killing it, causing a small explosion and a gust of wind that blew Shizu's mask off. The 3, what was that? They asked while covering themselves from the dust it raised. Izuku, black lightning, it's a somewhat destructive technique. Rimuru, you're right, maybe I should stop using it for a while. The 3 were preparing when they heard their voices, while Shizu was recovering. When the dust cleared, they noticed it was a human and a slime. Izuku and Rimuru, hello. Kaval, a slime and a boy? Rimuru, yes, is there a problem with that? Kaval, and no, not at all. They noticed the slime had Shizu's mask, so Rimuru approached her. Rimuru, I believe this is yours, he said as he handed her the mask. Shizu, oh, thank you, she said with a smile. Izuku looked at that smile and blushed slightly and said in international sign language. Izuku, beautiful. He said calmly while Shizu looked at him with a slight blush as she put on the mask. Rimuru looked a bit annoyed at that. Several minutes later. We see everyone in the village. The adventurers were in a house eating that Rimuru gave them. Izuku was at a lake while Rimuru was with him. Rimuru, do you think it was a good idea to bring them? Izuku, didn't you say you trust humans, though? Rimuru, yes, I know what I said, but I need to hear your opinion. Izuku's thoughts. I know they're not bad. They don't have bad intentions. I can see that with a simple glance. He said calmly, making Rimuru happy. Why are you so happy? I just said my opinion like you wanted. Rimuru, I know, but it makes me happy that you think the same. I thought you might not like the idea. Izuku, who do you take me for? Rimuru, ha ha. Izuku, anyway, let's go to the others. He said, and Rimuru jumped on him, heading towards where they were. They were in a house peacefully eating while Rimuru and Ranga were outside. Ranga and Rimuru, oh, hello Izuku-sama, Rimuru-sama. Izuku and Rimuru, hello. Izuku, are they here? Rimuru, yes. He said and then started to hear noise. They were fighting over the food. We gave them food to regain their strength. They must have been tired. Rimuru, oh, well done, Rimuru. I'm glad you gave them food. Rimuru, oh, then, thank you, Rimuru-sama. When they entered, they noticed everyone was eating as if there were no tomorrow. Only Shizu ate calmly but with her mask on. Rimuru and Izuku, she's skilled, they said while watching her eat. They were seen by those inside. Rimuru, I hope you're enjoying your meal. We've come to introduce you to our masters, Rimuru-sama and Izuku-sama. The three, masters? A boy and a slime? Izuku and Rimuru, I repeat, is there a problem with that? The three, and no, nothing. Aaron, I'm Aaron, they're Kaval, Guido, and the girl with the mask. She wanted to come with us because she was heading in the same direction. Her name is Shizu. Izuku's thoughts. We need to introduce ourselves, even though Rimuru already introduced us, we have to be friendly so they trust us. He thought, and just as he was about to say something, Izuku spoke first. Izuku, it's nice to meet you all. I'm Izuku, as Rimuru said. I'm not a bad guy, and neither is Rimuru, she's not a bad slime. He said with a cheeky grin. Rimuru looked at him comically. Rimuru, well, in a way, I was going to say something similar. Shizu chuckled a bit. Aaron, is something funny, Shizu? She said, and Shizu shook her head. Izuku and Rimuru, she laughed. Kaval stopped eating and bowed to them. Kaval, I never thought I'd be saved by a boy and a slime. Thank you very much. Izuku, you're welcome. We like to help. He said calmly, that Shizu, they say she's not from here, but from another world. Do you think so, master? Izuku, yes, besides, she sits the same way as in my world, like Rimuru. Rimuru? Do you think she's also from another world? Izuku, yes, of course. But why do you say that about her too, master? Izuku, it's very obvious, but you still had doubts. But when I saw her recreate the Tokyo Tower, it confirmed it for me. How does she know about that? You're right, master, but why didn't you say anything to her? Izuku, because it wasn't the right time to bring it up. Besides, a few minutes later, Kaijin's brother appeared. He thought, and I didn't say anything for these past 2 weeks because I forgot, he thought comically. Master, I respect you and all, but seriously? Izuku, don't judge me. He said, and they noticed everyone was looking at him. Sorry, I was thinking about something. Rimuru, you never change, do you? He said in his head. Izuku, no, why should I? If that's what you like. He said simply. Rimuru, you're right. Ha ha. They began to talk between themselves while being observed by Shizu. The others didn't pay attention and continued eating. Shizu, that slime isn't normal. Maybe, just maybe, she's from another world like me, she thought with intrigue as she looked at the slime, but she didn't notice her gaze. Then she looked at the boy, and this boy isn't normal either. He must also be from another world. Although he seems risky, he has a cold gaze, but he's very cute, I have to admit, she thought while blushing slightly, but her mask hid it well. We see Izuku talking to Rimuru calmly as dusk approaches. Rimuru, Izuku. Izuku, yes? Rimuru, doesn't that Shizu seem a bit strange to you? Izuku, I don't know, she seems normal to me. Rimuru, well, I find her somewhat unusual. Izuku, I see her as normal. And cute. Rimuru, cute? She said a bit annoyed. Izuku, yeah, why lie? He said calmly but looked at Rimuru. What's wrong? Rimuru, nothing. She said still a bit annoyed. Cute? I used to be very cute when I was human. But now I'm a slime. Izuku, are you sure nothing's wrong? Rimuru, it's nothing, don't worry. Izuku, are you jealous? That question caught the slime by surprise. Rimuru, me? Izuku, there's no one else here, just you and me. Rimuru, well, no, what makes you think that? Jealous? Not at all. She said nervously. Izuku, relax, it was just a question, don't get worked up. Rimuru, then don't ask stupid questions out of the blue like that. Then Izuku hugged her, making the slime even more nervous. Izuku, I don't know if I've told you this, but you're soft and comforting. Rimuru, maybe because I'm a slime. She said a bit calmer. Izuku is very soft too, she thought as she snuggled closer. They talked for a while, but they noticed the sun was setting, so Izuku and Rimuru were about to leave to do their own things when they noticed Shizu on a hill, watching the sunset. Izuku and Rimuru went over to her. Izuku, hi. He said simply, eliciting a sweat drop from Rimuru. Rimuru, hello, Shizu, right? Shizu looked at them for a moment. Shizu, yes, Rimuru, right? Rimuru, yes, he, that's me. Shizu looked at Izuku. Izuku, yup, before she says it, I'm Izuku, nice to meet you. Shizu, when you said, I'm not a bad guy like the slime, was that a joke? Izuku, maybe yes, maybe no. Shizu removed her mask, revealing a smile. Shizu, you're not from around here, are you? Izuku, I'm not sure what you mean. Rimuru? Shizu, you're not from this world. Izuku looked at that calmly while Rimuru was surprised. Rimuru, are you Japanese? Izuku, Japanese? Is that what you call people who ain't from this world? Rimuru, yeah, he. Wait, you're Japanese too? Izuku, yeah, just noticed? Rimuru, and aren't you surprised that she and I aren't from this world? At least a little? Izuku, honestly, no, I kinda figured. Rimuru, but, how? Izuku, well, I had a suspicion about you, but you confirmed it when we were locked in that cell, when you made the Tokyo Tower with your threads. I'll say it again, you did that really well, you gotta teach me that. Rimuru, first, you're bad, you didn't tell me anything, and second, sure, whenever you want. Izuku, me, bad? It wasn't the right time to say those things, plus, I forgot and also didn't ask you anything. He said with a sheepish look. Rimuru, seriously, you never change. Izuku, and seriously, why change? If it makes you like me, right? He said calmly. Rimuru, sighs, that's true. Shizu watched with a smile, they were fun and kind, which she liked. Shizu, but how did you guys get here? Rimuru, I died from a stab wound while saving a friend and without realizing it, I became a slime. Shizu, so reincarnations, and it must have been tough for you. Rimuru, yeah, he. Shizu, and are you also reincarnated? Izuku, yeah, I died from disintegration, and reincarnated as a humanoid slime. He said and changed back to his original form. See? Shizu, wow, you're the first humanoid slime I've seen. She said surprised, and Izuku returned to his human form. Though he should stay like that, he looks cuter that way, she thought with a slight blush that Rimuru noticed. Rimuru, did she blush? Don't tell me she's interested in Izuku? She thought while looking at her. But she just met him. Rimuru and Shizu, wait, disintegration? Izuku, yeah. Rimuru, aren't you going to explain how you ended up like that? Izuku, sighs, long story short, I fought with a guy obsessed with hands, who had the power to disintegrate anything he touched me, and poof, dead. Rimuru, but was your death slow? She asked with concern. Did he really die like that? The stab wound I received doesn't compare to that, although in my world there are people with powers like that? She thought, confused but also worried. Izuku, yeah, it was kinda slow, but that's all in the past now, so don't worry about it. He said, calming Rimuru down. Shizu, but then, it was very painful, right? She asked with concern, surprising Izuku although he didn't show it. Rimuru, she's worried about him too, but I highly doubt she's in love with Izuku, maybe it's just interest, but for some reason, that bothers her a lot like the elves last time. Izuku, well, honestly, yeah, more than you can imagine. He said, but then he was hugged by Shizu, putting him between her breasts. Shizu, sorry for making you remember that, it's in the past now, don't worry. She said while caressing Izuku. His hair is soft, now I know why the slime was on his head. Izuku, I was already calm, but this hug doesn't bother me at all, he thought while enjoying the hug. Don't worry, I'm fine. Shizu, same here, sorry. Izuku, sighs it's okay. Rimuru watched, first surprised by the hug she gave and a little annoyed by where Izuku's face was. Rimuru, so, Shizu, are you also reincarnated? She said trying to separate them from the hug, succeeding. Shizu, no, rather, I'm summoned. She said but now it was clear she had a melancholic smile. Izuku, summoned? Rimuru, so, I think the great sage told me that once, summoners summon weapons, that means. Shizu is a weapon? And they can't rebel because of a seal that prevents them from doing so. Izuku, and what were you like before being summoned? Shizu, I was a little girl when that happened, everything was on fire, bombs were falling from the sky, I was with my mom when it happened, suddenly I lost her in all that chaos, but then all the fire surrounded me, like consuming me, and suddenly, I wasn't there anymore, but in this world. She said a little melancholic as she remembered all that. And I was in front of him. Izuku and Rimuru, a war? Aerial attacks? Izuku looked at Shizu who was melancholic for remembering it, then Izuku hugged her, surprising her a lot and Rimuru a little but also a little annoyed but let it go knowing the situation. Izuku, there, it's over, don't worry. He said while caressing her. Shizu, it's okay. She said while enjoying that. Rimuru watched that and then the sun set, in a few seconds the sun had completely set. Rimuru, that's weird, in a way, I feel a bad feeling. We see Izuku and Shizu talking calmly while Rimuru watched with annoyance for some reason she didn't understand. Rimuru, this feeling again. I better go help Kaijin who called me a while ago, and to avoid this feeling. And seeing them, she thought and left. Izuku and Shizu talked for another hour, there was laughter and fun, well, only Shizu, Izuku was just neutral as always. Shizu, it was nice talking to you, Izuku. She said with a smile. Izuku, I think I feel the same way. He said neutrally. Shizu, why don't you have emotions? Izuku, let's just say I don't have them. Shizu, what do you mean you don't have? Izuku, well, I don't have them anymore. Shizu, how did you lose them? Izuku, it was my fault. He said neutrally. For not knowing how to measure my words. He thought comically. Shizu, your fault? Izuku, yes. Shizu, I'm sorry. Izuku, she's apologizing again? She reminds me of myself before. He thought with a wry face. Don't worry, that's in the past. Shizu, isn't there a way to get them back? Izuku, let's say there is, but it's harder than I thought. Shizu, harder? Izuku, yes, because I have to experience them again. In short, I seem like a baby, feeling new things, although I blush several times, although I always have the same face as always. I can't even laugh. Or cry. Shizu felt really bad for him. Shizu, Izuku. She said while hugging him. I wish I had more time to be with him, in a way he helps me and I want to help him a little. Izuku, what are you thinking so much about? He asked with a wry face while enjoying the hug. I can feel her chest. Shizu broke away from the hug. Shizu, it's late, I have to sleep. Izuku, right, yes. Shizu, aren't you going to sleep? Izuku, slimes don't need to sleep, and besides, I'll look at the stars for a while, then I'll do some things for the village. Shizu, oh, okay, goodin. She couldn't finish because she felt a pain that made her fall but before hitting the ground, Izuku held her. Izuku, are you okay? Shizu, it was just a dizzy spell, don't worry. Master, you can have her abilities. Izuku, really? Well, it wouldn't be bad to shoot fire like she does. Yes master but there's a problem. Izuku, a problem? Yes, and I know it, but something strange is happening, as if there were something, that's why physical contact is needed now. Izuku, What a nuisance. They didn't realize it, but they were in that somewhat promising position for a few seconds. Shizu recovered a bit and looked at Izuku, noticing the position they were in. Shizu, Izuku. She said, blushing as she looked at him. Izuku reacted and looked at her. She was blushing. Izuku, what's wrong? Are you okay? You look red, do you have a fever? He asked as he leaned in closer, their foreheads touching. Shizu, I'm fine, but don't you realize how we are? Izuku got confused but noticed something. Izuku, maybe this will work. He said as he saw her blushing. Sorry if this bothers you, what I'm about to do. Shizu, I don't understand. She was interrupted by Izuku's lips touching hers. He's kissing me. Izuku, I hope this works, this physical contact, Jarvis? Yes, Master, analysis complete. Izuku, well, now I'll separate from him. His thoughts were interrupted because Shizu deepened the kiss. Izuku was surprised by Shizu's action. Izuku, it was just a kiss to gain those abilities, but I didn't expect this. At all. I don't know what to do I reciprocate? Or not? Izuku hesitated while they continued with the kiss. In a few seconds Izuku reciprocated the kiss. The kiss lasted several seconds more until they parted. Shizu, I wish you a good night. She said that only, put on her mask, and quickly left. Izuku watched Shizu for a moment as she left, then looked at the moon. Izuku, it was just a kiss. Right? He said neutrally. Although it was pleasant. Master, it's done, you have the abilities now. Izuku, I'm glad for that even though it may not seem like it. The abilities were. Jarvis was about to speak but was interrupted by Izuku. Izuku, tell me later or tomorrow, I have some things to think about. Understood, Master. Izuku started to look at the moon. A few minutes passed, and he left. With Shizu. She looked confused and blushing. Shizu, it was very nice and gentle. Why did he suddenly kiss me? We barely know each other, it's too soon for that to happen, why would it be? She thought, then looked at her hands. It's getting worse every time. Tomorrow I'll leave so as not to cause trouble, I don't want to and especially not now. She thought, but then Eren arrived all ready for bed. Eren, are you okay, Shizu? She asked concerned because she found her very pensive, thinking that something was wrong with her. Shizu, no, I'm fine, don't worry. Eren, well, if you need anything, let me know, good night. She said as she lay down on her bed. Shizu, of course, good night. She said and also lay down in her bed. We see a little girl who was burned on her left arm while a man looked at her seriously. Another failure. He said a bit annoyed. This seems useless to me, but from what I see, she has a great ability with fire. He said and next to him appeared like a kind of fiery apparition. Ifrit. The girl was scared and very confused, she saw that flaming thing approaching slowly, she took a step back but then the thing quickly approached, entering the girl's body. When it did that, the girl's eyes turned crimson red for a moment. A few seconds passed, the girl wondered what happened as she looked at her hands, but then a feather appeared falling slowly, this was seen by the man. When the feather touched the ground, it created a small gust of wind, scaring the girl, who moved away a little while the man looked at it between calmly and seriously. In the small gust of wind appeared a kind of humanoid bird or something like that, it had armor and a weapon, it was like a kind of trident. The great wizard Quenin has arrived, lion. He said and aimed his trident at the man, scaring the girl more as she backed away little by little. I have come to defeat you to proclaim myself as the Demon King, you will rest in peace. Lion, I don't know who sent this creature so inferior, but I accept the challenge. Your turn has come, Ifrit. The girl was very confused, between confusion and fear, she didn't know what to do. Lion, what's happening? He said, and the girl looked at him scared, then Lion's eyes shone like crimson red. Then the girl's eyes turned crimson red again, she seemed asleep with her eyes open, and started approaching the bird creature. Quenin, ha! Don't ignore me. You'll regret underestimating me. He said annoyed, noticing the girl watching him as he approached slowly. Oh, want to be the first to die? Fine, then die now. He said, launching an attack rapidly approaching the girl. The girl saw the attack approaching slowly, but then behind her, a type of fire appeared, raising her hand pointing at the bird, and unleashed a powerful blaze that consumed the attack and headed towards it. Quenin, what? He said, the attack hitting him directly, unable to dodge it. AHH. He screamed in pain as he was consumed by the flames, quickly being completely consumed, leaving nothing, not even ashes. Lion watched that and then chuckled a bit. Lion, ha ha, more interesting than I thought. He said with a smile as the girl stopped having crimson red eyes, coming back to herself. She didn't even know what she had done, just surprised and very confused as she looked at her hands, but then looked at him. What's your name? The girl looked down. Shizu, my name is. Shizu. Lion, Shizu? MNNN, from now on you'll just be Shizu. He said and the girl looked at him. Shizu, Shizu? Several years passed. Now we see Shizu a little older, we see her in the forest looking around, but then she heard something, so she slowly headed towards the direction of the noise. She saw a girl with a kind of fox, she approached carefully but made a little noise, catching the girl's attention. Huh? She said scared and looked at the cause of the noise, seeing Shizu. He got separated from his mother, please, ignore him. Shizu looked at that with a smile. Shizu, I won't tell anyone, calm down, I'd like to take care of him with you. She said with a smile. The girl looked at that for a moment but quickly smiled. Yes, of course, my name is Perino. Shizu, I'm Shizu. She said with a smile. Now we see Shizu feeding the fox. Shizu, I think he really likes it. She said happily watching how the fox eats. Then the two girls looked at each other and laughed. Shizu picked up the fox carefully. And do you know his name? Perino, what are you talking about? Monsters don't have names. Shizu, but it's sad that he doesn't have a name. She said and the fox moved a bit. I'm sure he wants one. How about Pizu? Perino, Pizu? She said while looking at the fox. I love it, hello Pizu. She said happily but then the fox shone, surprising her. When the glow dissipated, they noticed that the fox had grown. Shizu, look, he got bigger, Pizu. She said happily while holding Pizu. He, you've grown up. A few minutes passed and now we see Shizu and Perino with Pizu heading to the castle, but then Shizu stopped. Shizu, Perino. She said, catching her attention. I don't think you should take him to the castle. Perino, don't worry, he'll be fine, he's very clever, he'll be fine. She said happily holding Pizu. Shizu, but. Perino, he's very friendly with me, they'll let me adopt him as if he were a family member. Shizu, do you really think so? Inside the castle. Now we see Pizu behaving aggressively as he looked at Lion, who had a bored expression but also seriousness. Perino, hey? What's wrong with Pizu? Calm down, relax. She said worried about Pizu while trying to calm him down. Come on, behave, please Pizu. She said and continued to struggle while Perino held him tighter and tried to calm him down. Everything's fine, everything's alright. Shizu watched worriedly but then her eyes turned crimson red again, standing in front of Perino and Pizu. Perino, Shizu? She asked scared as she took a step back. Shizu, enemy. She said, and fireballs appeared, soon exploding, and now Shizu had flames around her. Soon around Perino and Pizu, they were surrounded by powerful flames, screaming in pain but it didn't last long, they were consumed by the flames again, leaving nothing, not even ashes. Lion, MNNN. He said nothing and left. Shizu came back to herself, fell to her knees with a lost look. Shizu, I don't understand. Why? What happened? What did I do? My body moved on its own and the flames were. She said as tears began to flow. What have I done? What have I done? I'm a monster, what did I do? Why? She said as she cried more and more, lamenting everything. Dash. We see Shizu waking up abruptly. Shizu, that dream. She said as she looked around and then saw Eren sleeping peacefully, that brought a smile to her face but then she felt the pain again, but it quickly passed. Shizu started breathing heavily. I have to go, I can't let that happen to them, especially to him, I don't want to cause more harm. No more.